Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Known most famously for its Civil War battle in 1863 and for President Lincoln's address that only took 2 minutes, and of course our famous town square that's actually a circle. But what about the education in Gettysburg? How do we fit into the globalization of education? Is education in Gettysburg up to par with the rest of the nation? And how are we portraying our students to become better learners and therefore better global citizens? In this short video, we will discuss two parts of Gettysburg. The first, the public school system, as opposed to the elementary school, where we will discuss with Beth Corey, Big Brother Big Sisters, and of course Gettysburg College, our home. Beth Corey is in charge of Big Brother Big Sisters of York and Adams County, a program that helps elementary school and middle-aged school children find a better place when their home life isn't as great. So Beth, how do you feel our Gettysburg education system prompts students to be global citizens when they get out of college, knowing that students don't learn at the same rate and don't develop at the same rate?
Okay. Well, the kids we work with at Big Brothers Big Sisters in the after-school program are either academically behind or socially behind or have some crisis in the family where they need added support. So I think that our program, there's another after-school program in the area, there's a couple other programs, they all work together to help that student. They're all options for the student. But I think that the parents have a hard time being part of that. So if there's no transportation, if the parent doesn't back up the program, if they have issues at a program and the parent, they drop out of the program and the parent doesn't make them go in that sense, then I think that the child will fall further behind, I think, without that parent support. And the teacher's hands are tied when the parents aren't involved. So the teachers can't do anything to help the student to stay or to get academically ahead or be part of the norm with their peers. So I think that makes it difficult for them.
And do you see an improvement through these programs, like these kids that come to Biggs or go to RSG? Do you see improvement as time goes on?
Yeah, we track it. We track we ask the teachers at the beginning of the year what reading level the student is at, and then we ask the teacher at the end of the year if that reading level is the same, if they are at grade level yet or if they're still behind. And from what I've seen from the programs I work, it's about a 50% improvement rate. They also ask them about their attendance at school, if their attendance has improved, if their homework or schoolwork has improved, if their reading level has improved, and I think across the board, if it was a problem at the beginning, then I think 50% of them have improved.
Mm-hmm. And then to be a global citizen, you know, it's not just academically, but you have to excel in. What does the education system do for these kids that don't necessarily need educational help, need academic help, but need social help and social skills?
I see that as a big part, maybe even more so than the academics for our program. The children need to be able to interact with their peers in order to feel accepted, to have self-esteem, and if they don't have that, then they're not going to move forward in anything, whether it's school, whether it's after school, in a career, in relationships. So I think that the support that they can get now in the elementary age will help them develop that self-esteem. That's probably, I would have to say that's about 50% of our kids have self-esteem issues or peer relationship issues. So, and I see that if we can help them there, then we can help them whether their academics improve or not. Mm-hmm. They're better able to cope with it. So.
Beth brings up an excellent point about how it's not just the education system that will give us globalization and education, but it also deals with the parents raising these children. So let's see what happens when we move over to Gettysburg College and talk to the students who actually go there and who are not dependent on their parents.
So what makes me nervous about applying for grad school is that the applications are considered not only based on GPA. They're considered about like research opportunities and internships and externships, and the people that get those opportunities in undergrad are the people with the highest GPAs, so they continue to build their resume while the others kind of fall through the cracks, and the others with the lower GPAs don't get to compensate for the lower GPA by having experiences and showing their skills in other ways outside of the classroom.
Let's find out what Sarah and Jake believe about standardized testing. How if they compensate for GPAs, or if things like the GRE or the MCAT aren't necessarily a good sense of classifications when it comes to education and admissions to higher learning.
I don't think they're necessarily a good measure of skill set, because you're not going to be filling in bubbled answers in the industry. You're going to be in the lab working through problems, solving problems, and a lot of people have testing anxiety, and those situations don't show their true abilities.
Especially like within the sciences, like you're not going to have time limits on how to approach a research question.
No,
and
not
you're
at
not
all.
going to have to like quickly think on your feet when it comes to planning out experiments. This is stuff that takes a lot of meticulous planning, and standardized testing doesn't give you the opportunity to demonstrate your ability to do so, because it tests you on how much knowledge you know in a short amount of time and how well you can answer questions.
Next, we decided to sit down with Orange Lee, an international student from China, and we discussed with her how her education in the United States differed from her education in China, and how she feels the American education system is preparing students to go on to jobs and careers in the global market.
And I think they really focus on each individual student. It's not like back in China, you know, like when you go to like a college, like a big university, you have like lots of students in the same class, like Gettysburg College, like every professor knows you, and your class size is pretty small, so you would have a chance to talk to professors like individually when you have questions, and they are willing to help. Also, like in America, I feel like English is a global language, so when I study here, like English as my second language, and I like immerse myself in like a English speaking environment, it will help me to understand like this kind of language. And then when I graduate and trying to find a job, I can consider myself as like bilingual, and that will like help me a little bit when I want to work like globally. Like I can work for like an international company, and they can send me to work in China, and I think that works both ways.
Orange brings up an excellent point about how American school children have grown up with a universal language of English, which gives them a top up. But let's talk for a minute about our educators. We sat down with Professor Zakiya Watley and asked her how she thinks Gettysburg College is preparing its students to become global citizens and to leave college knowing what they know.
Okay, so my answer is going to be focused on students in the sciences, because that's who I have the most exposure to and I'm most familiar with as far as the preparedness of the students when they leave. I think when it comes to preparing our students to enter the workforce or to contribute, whether nationally or globally, I think as scientists, something that the college does well is kind of giving you this well-roundedness, right? So, and that's kind of part of the liberal arts education that everyone trumpets and touts. But I really think, you know, when you're able to think about science in the context of all these other things that you've learned, you're able to think about the application, right, a little bit better. You're also able to think about innovation in a different way, or you think about strategies to solve or to problem solve in a different way. So I think in that sense, our students, as they enter the workforce, I believe have a slight advantage compared to students that may have been in just a larger school who also don't have, or who may focus solely on whatever their discipline is. So if you're in the sciences, you're not taking arts, and you're not taking, you're not doing, history of Japanese art, which some students take, or you're not doing, and you're not exposed to as many opportunities or different fields, and you're not able to tie those things in as well. So I think that's one thing. When it comes to when I think about the global economy in the sense of understanding the magnitude, I don't know that our students grasp the magnitude as well as I think they should. And I guess I shouldn't say I don't know that they grasp the magnitude. I don't know that it is taught to them or explained to them or reiterated as well as it could be. I think, so some of this is an artifact of what the college is, right? So you tend to reproduce like reproduces like. And so we come from, and when I say we, I mean the faculty, we come from a certain subset of schools, or so whether it's Ivy League schools or certain top research universities, and so we tend to push our students to go on to other research universities, right? And I think it's so much bigger and broader in what you can do today with a background in science. So whether that's a startup company, whether it's diagnostics, whether it's thinking about portable devices and learning how to do PCR and thinking about how to take it out of the lab and put it in the field, right? Or to think about how to make this technology accessible for other groups. I don't think we push that type of innovation for our students. And I think so part of our reward system is rewarding those students that go on to be just like us. But we never will change and will never grow if we don't push students to do what's pegged as like non-traditional careers. But what we know is this career that I am in is the least traditional, based on percentage-wise. But so I think in that way, we do a little bit of a disservice in that way. Me too. Okay, so to think about how faculty stay abreast of the ever-changing landscape of our fields and teaching in general. So I think it's two things that you have to consider. One is your content specialty. So there's not any one particular program or certification program that says, okay, you must go to a conference every year, or you must do these continuing education courses, which is the case in a lot of professional fields. So if you're a doctor, you do continuing education credits. If you are in some other field, like lawyers, all these kind of professions, they do these continuing education credits, and we don't have anything specific to that. There are opportunities available, so the Johnson Center for Teaching and Learning is one. There are research and professional development grants available from the provost office, but all of those things are self-seeking, so you have to seek those things out yourself. They're competitive because other people are trying to get those grants as well, but there's no one overarching accreditation.
We've touched on many excellent points about education in the Gettysburg community during this video. We've talked with Beth Corey about the Big Brothers Big Sisters and RSG programs that help children who are struggling in school to further embrace their education. We've also talked with a few people from Gettysburg College, saying how perhaps the classrooms are a little more competitive than usual, or how standardized tests aren't necessarily useful with higher education, especially after undergraduate research. We've talked about differences with American education versus global education, and we've talked about how teachers have the resources to keep up with the changing economy and changing world, and how that benefits students as they go forward in their lives.